The signal shouldn't have existed. That was the first thing that struck Captain Elena Vasquez as she stared at the data streaming across her command console. The mathematics were all wrong, patterns that violated everything humanity knew about quantum communications, yet there they were, as clear as a beacon in the cosmic dark. "Run the analysis again," she ordered, her fingers drumming against the worn leather of her command chair. "Third time's the charm," Lieutenant Jake Morrison quipped from the sensor station, his boyish grin not quite reaching his eyes. "Captain, I've run it 5 times already. The signal's real, and it's impossible." The bridge of the Persistence hummed with nervous energy. Dr. James Chen hunched over his synorchiology console, muttering in Mandarin as he cross-referenced the signal against every known alien communication protocol. Nothing matched. "It's beautiful," whispered engineer Sarah Martinez, her eyes reflecting the holographic display. "Look at the mathematical progression. It's like someone took the Fibonacci sequence and turned it inside out through 11 dimensions." Vasquez felt the familiar weight of command pressing down on her shoulders. The Galactic Council's orders had been explicit. Maintain position at the edge of the Orion Nebula and await the arrival of the Kurtok science vessel. Do not, under any circumstances, pursue unregistered anomalies. "But this signal, distance to source," she asked. 2 parsecs, varying 127 Mark IV, Morrison replied. "But Captain, the Council isn't here." Vasquez cut him off. "We are. And that signal is calling to us." Dr. Amit Patel looked up from his biological scanners. Concern etched across his weathered face. "Elena, you know what happened to the Dawnchaser. They pursued an anomaly against orders and they weren't human," Vasquez finished. "We're different, Amit. We're built for this, for pushing boundaries, for finding answers where others see only warnings." She stood, decision crystallizing. Martinez, plot a course. Morrison, continuous scans. "I want to know everything about that signal before we get there." As the Persistence turned toward the mysterious signal, space itself seemed to ripple around them. The stars blurred momentarily, then snapped back into focus. Except now, there was something else. Something that hadn't been there before. "Captain," Morrison's voice cracked. "I'm detecting a massive structure. It's the size of a moon, but our sensors couldn't see it until now." The view screen flickered, revealing a crystalline construct that defied description. It was simultaneously solid and transparent, its facets seeming to fold through dimensions that human eyes weren't meant to perceive. "My God," Chen breathed. Suddenly, Morrison screamed. His body went rigid, back arching impossibly as he rose from his chair. Blood began streaming from his nose, his eyes rolling back until only the whites showed. "Medical emergency," Vasquez shouted, lunging toward him. But before anyone could reach him, Morrison spoke in a voice that wasn't his own, deeper, resonating with harmonics that made the crew's teeth ache. "They're watching us." He collapsed to the deck, unconscious before he hit the ground. And in that moment, the crystalline structure pulsed with an eerie blue light, as if responding to his words. "All stop," Vasquez ordered, her heart pounding. "Dr. Patel, get him to medical. Everyone else, battle stations, whatever's in that structure, it knows we're here." As the medical team rushed Morrison off the bridge, Vasquez stared at the impossible construct before them. The blue pulse was strengthening, forming patterns that seemed almost like language. They had answered the signal. Now something was answering back. The airlock hissed open, revealing a corridor that shouldn't exist. Dr. Chen ran his hand along the crystalline wall, watching in fascination as it rippled like water beneath his touch. "The molecular structure is reorganizing itself in real time," Martins reported, her scanner bleeping frantically. "It's like the entire structure is thinking." Vasquez led the expedition team deeper into the construct, their magnetic boots clicking against surfaces that alternated between solid and eerily translucent. Morrison remained on the ship, sedated but stable, his brain activity showing patterns that medical science couldn't explain. "Captain," Dr. Patel's voice crackled over the comm. "You need to see this." They rounded a corner to find Patel standing before a vast chamber. The walls were covered in hieroglyphs that seemed to shift and flow like living things. As they watched, the symbols rearranged themselves, forming new patterns. Chen approached the nearest wall, his fingers hovering inches from a particularly complex symbol. "These aren't just decorative. Wait." He touched the glyph. The reaction was instantaneous. Chen's body went rigid, his eyes wide with terror. Images flooded his mind, memories that weren't his own. He saw through alien eyes as something terrible unfolded. Laboratories burning, scientists screaming, a darkness spreading like cancer through reality itself. "James." Vasquez grabbed him, pulling him back. Chen gasped, falling to his knees. "I saw them," he whispered. "The last moments of whoever built this place. They were trying to contain something. Something that." A metallic clatter interrupted him. They spun around to see Martinez's tools floating in midair, assembling themselves into impossible configurations. "I'm not doing that," Martine said, backing away as her welding torch ignited on its own. The tools began working on the wall, cutting precise patterns that glowed with inner fire. "Look at this," Patel called from across the chamber. He was kneeling beside a patch of dust-covered floor. Footprints. Vasquez joined him, her blood running cold. The prints were human. Standard-issue expedition boots, size 10. The same size Morrison wore. "That's impossible," she breathed. "Jake's still on the ship. The dust hasn't been disturbed for millions of years," Patel continued. "But these prints, they're fresh, and they lead deeper into the structure." Something whispered in the darkness ahead. Not words exactly, but impressions that bypassed their ears and spoke directly to their minds. The sensation was like remembering a conversation that hadn't happened yet. Martinez's tools finished their work, revealing a doorway where solid wall had been moments before. Beyond it, shadows moved with purpose. "We're being guided," Chen realized. "The structure is showing us what it wants us to see, or leading us into a trap," Patel countered. Vasquez activated her helmet cam, transmitting everything back to the Persistence. "We push forward. Whatever's happening here, whatever took control of Morrison. We need answers." As they stepped through the newly created doorway, the chamber behind them vanished, replaced by seamless crystal. The corridor ahead branched into infinite possibilities, each path identical yet somehow unique. And from somewhere in the depths of the structure, they heard Morrison's voice, impossibly clear. "Hurry. They're waking up, and they're hungry." The footprints in the dust continued forward, leading them deeper into the maze. Behind them, the walls began to pulse with that same eerie blue light, keeping time with a heartbeat that couldn't possibly exist. "Link established," Martins announced, her voice tight with concentration. The jury-rigged neural interface hummed against their temples, connecting the expedition team's minds through the structure's quantum network. Vasquez felt the other's consciousness brush against her own. Chen's analytical precision, Patel's cautious wisdom, Martinez's creative fire. Then something else joined them, vast and ancient, a presence that made their combined human awareness seem like a candle against a supernova. Reality fractured. They were no longer in the corridor, but floating in an endless void, surrounded by beings of pure thought. The phantoms revealed themselves not as monsters or ghosts, but as patterns of living mathematics, consciousness encoded in quantum loops that had persisted for eons. "We are the silent phantoms," the thought resonated through their linked minds. "Prisoners of our own transcendence." Images flooded their shared consciousness, a civilization reaching the peak of evolution, shedding physical form to become beings of pure energy. But something had gone wrong. In their ascension, they'd become trapped between dimensions, unable to fully exist in any reality. The vision shifted, showing countless alien species discovering the structure over millions of years. Each had failed the test, fleeing in terror or descending into madness when confronted with the Phantom's true nature. "You are different," the Phantoms communicated. "Your species possesses something unique." The link began to destabilize. Chen screamed as his neurons fired in patterns they were never meant to handle. Patel's heart stuttered, skipping beats as his body struggled to process trans-dimensional data. Martinez's nose began to bleed, crimson drops floating in the zero-gravity environment their minds had created. Only Vasquez managed to maintain focus, pushing through the pain. "What do you want from us?" "To be free. To exist again. You must choose." The void collapsed. They slammed back into their bodies, gasping and retching on the crystal floor. But something was different now. Morrison stood before them. Fully conscious, his eyes glowing with that same eerie blue light. "I understand now," he said, his voice layered with harmonics. "They chose me as a bridge. I can see them, speak with them directly." He pointed to markings appearing on the walls, a countdown in an alien number system that somehow they could all understand. 12 hours, Morrison translated. "That's how long we have to prove humanity is worthy of inheriting their legacy." "And if we fail?" Vasquez asked, helping Chen to his feet. Morrison's expression darkened. "Then they'll erase us from existence. Not just us, our entire species, retroactively removed from the timeline." Warning klaxons blared from their communicators. "Captain," came the panicked voice from the Persistence. "Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. Kurtok battlecruisers, Valaxian dreadnoughts, half the Galactic Council's fleet is converging on our position." Vasquez looked at her team, battered but unbroken. They'd touched the infinite and survived. Now they had 12 hours to prove humanity deserved to exist. "Then we'd better get started," she said, squaring her shoulders. "Morrison, you're our translator now. Tell the Phantoms we accept their challenge." The countdown continued, each pulse of blue light marking another second closer to humanity's judgment. In the depths of the structure, something ancient began to stir, preparing to test whether human determination could achieve the impossible. The testing chamber materialized around Vasquez like a nightmare given form. She stood on the bridge of the Persistence, but everything was wrong. Earth burned in the view screen, continents cracking apart as Kurtok planet killers rained destruction from orbit. "Your decisions led to this," a voice that was both Morrison's and not Morrison's echoed through the simulation. "Every choice you made brought your species to extinction." Vasquez watched her homeworld die 1,000 times, each death a different consequence of her choices. The Phantoms weren't just testing her. They were dissecting her soul, examining every doubt, every fear, every moment she questioned herself. In another chamber, Martinez faced an impossible task. A dying star pulsed before her, its core collapsing toward a black hole that would consume 3 inhabited systems. The tools she needed existed only in theory, the mathematics beyond any computer's ability to calculate. "Forget the equations," she whispered to herself, closing her eyes. "Feel the star's rhythm." Her hands moved on instinct, building a device that shouldn't work, couldn't work, except it did. The star stabilized, its light shifting from dying red to healthy yellow. The Phantoms observed in fascination as human intuition achieved what pure logic could not. Dr. Patel's test was perhaps the cruelest. The Phantoms were slowly transforming him into crystal, starting with his extremities. To save himself, he had to solve a biological puzzle that changed every time he thought he understood it. "You're testing the wrong thing," he said calmly as Crystal crept up his arms. "You think intelligence means solving problems. For humans, intelligence means recognizing when the problem itself is wrong." He deliberately shattered his crystallizing hand against the wall. The pain was excruciating, but the transformation stopped, reversed. The Phantoms recoiled in confusion. No species had ever chosen self-harm as a solution. Chen faced an archive of infinite knowledge, each piece of information contradicting the last. The harder he tried to comprehend it, the more his sanity frayed. Other species had gone mad here, their minds shattered by paradox. That's the test, isn't it? Chen laughed, blood dripping from his eyes. You want to see if we break. But humans don't break. We bend. We accept contradiction. We thrive in chaos. He began organizing the information not by logic, but by story, creating narratives that embraced paradox rather than resolving it. The archive restructured itself around his approach, becoming comprehensible for the first time in millions of years. Throughout the structure, the phantoms watched in growing amazement. Every test designed to break the humans instead revealed new facets of their resilience. Where other species sought escape or surrendered to despair, humans adapted, innovated, and endured. Morrison, still serving as the bridge, felt the phantoms' confusion turning to recognition, then to something approaching awe. They're starting to understand, he told Vasquez as she emerged from her trial, Earth saved in countless simultaneous realities. We don't overcome challenges by being stronger or smarter. We overcome them by being relentlessly, stubbornly human. The countdown showed 3 hours remaining. Outside, the alien fleet positioned itself for assault, preparing to destroy the structure rather than let humanity claim its secrets. But inside, something fundamental had shifted. The phantoms were no longer testing humanity. They were learning from them. The revelation struck like a thunderbolt through their linked consciousness. Morrison stood at the center of the chamber, his form flickering between solid matter and pure energy as the phantoms channeled their truth through him. We were you, he spoke with 1,000 voices. Humanity's first diaspora, launched into the cosmos 3 million years ago. Images cascaded through their minds. Ancient humans achieving technological singularity, transcending physical form, seeding Earth with life before departing to explore dimensions beyond conventional space-time. They had evolved, ascended, and ultimately become trapped in their own transcendence. We left guardians, Morrison continued, genetic markers dormant in our descendants, waiting for the day you would evolve enough to find us again. Vasquez staggered under the weight of the revelation. The missing link in human evolution. It was you. The Galactic Council knew. Chen realized, his mind racing through historical inconsistencies. That's why they've been suppressing our development, quarantining Earth, limiting our technology transfers. The phantoms revealed more. The current galactic powers had discovered humanity's true potential centuries ago. Terrified of what humans might become if reunited with their ascended ancestors, they had conspired to keep Earth isolated and primitive. They fear you, Morrison said, because you carry within you the seed of transcendence. You are their evolutionary superiors, disguised as primitives. As proof, the phantoms began unlocking Morrison's dormant genetic code. His body transformed, not into something alien, but into something more profoundly human. Neural pathways activated that had lain dormant for millennia. His consciousness expanded to perceive dimensions beyond the physical. This is what we were, he gasped, tears streaming down his face. What we can become again. The structure shuddered as the Kurtok fleet opened fire, their weapons designed specifically to disrupt quantum consciousness. The phantoms had minutes before their prison shattered, potentially trapping them forever in non-existence. We need vessels, the phantoms pleaded through Morrison. Willing hosts to carry our consciousness back into physical reality. Only through merger can we both survive. Martinez stepped forward without hesitation. I volunteer. As do I, Paddle added, still bearing crystal scars from his trial. Chen nodded. We came to explore the unknown. What's more unknown than becoming something beyond human? Vasquez looked at her crew, her family, and felt pride swell in her chest. This was humanity at its finest, facing the impossible not with fear, but with open arms. How do we do this? She asked. Through acceptance, Morrison replied. Open your minds completely. Trust in what you are, what you've always been capable of becoming. As the structure began to collapse under the assault, the merger process began. Phantom consciousness flowed into human vessels, not as possession, but as reunion. Ancient and modern humans joining across millions of years of separation. Outside, the Kurtak commander watched his sensors in disbelief as power signatures, unlike anything in recorded history, began emanating from the structure. Whatever was happening inside defied their understanding of physics. "Admiral," his science officer reported, voice trembling, "the humans, they're evolving." In the heart of the dying structure, 5 beings of unprecedented potential opened their eyes, ready to show the galaxy why humanity had always been destined for greatness. The Kurtak fleet's ultimate weapon, the reality anchor, fired its devastating beam directly at the crystalline structure. Designed to collapse quantum fields and prevent dimensional manipulation, it should have ended the threat instantly. Instead, the beam curved impossibly around its target, striking one of their own battlecruisers. "Impossible!" Admiral Krathik roared, his chitinous mandibles clicking in fury. "Our calculations were perfect." Inside the structure, Martinez grinned, her consciousness now intertwined with phantom technology. Perfect calculations meet human improvisation. She had redirected the beam using the structure's geometry and a principle she'd discovered during her trial. Stellar mechanics could be influenced by pure intuition. The battle erupted across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Kurtak ships found themselves fighting their own reflections in parallel realities. Valaxian dreadnoughts phased in and out of existence as Paddle manipulated biological constants, turning their organic hulls into quantum uncertainties. Chen waged war in the realm of information, rewriting the enemy's tactical computers with paradoxical code that embraced contradiction rather than logic. Alien AIs crashed as they tried to process commands that were simultaneously true and false. Through it all, Morrison coordinated the defense, his expanded consciousness perceiving every thread of possibility. "They're still thinking in 3 dimensions," he observed. "Time to show them what humans can really do." Vasquez reached out with her newfound abilities, touching the structure's core consciousness. "You've been alone so long," she whispered to the ancient eye. "Let us show you what humanity has learned about family." She shared a memory, a child's crayon drawing of Earth, given to her by her daughter before the mission. The simple art, full of impossible colors and proportions, carried more emotional weight than all the Kurtak's logical proofs combined. The structure's eye, which had remained neutral for eons, suddenly chose sides. Defense systems that had lain dormant for millions of years activated. The crystalline moon transformed into the most powerful warship the galaxy had ever seen. "All frequencies, all dimensions," Vasquez commanded. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of Earth Vessel Persistence. Your conspiracy ends now." She broadcast their discoveries to every ship, every world. The truth about humanity's origins, the Galactic Council's deception, the fear that had driven advanced species to suppress Earth's development. Some alien crews mutinied immediately, refusing to fire on their evolutionary progenitors. Others redoubled their attacks, terrified of humanity's potential. The turning point came when Martinez executed her masterstroke, using children's games as tactical templates. Hide and seek, tag, Red Rover. She orchestrated maneuvers that no military AI could predict or counter. Human play proved more effective than millennia of martial doctrine. "We're not winning through superior firepower," Chen announced as another Kurtak ship surrendered. "We're winning because we're unpredictable, illogical, human." The battle reached its climax as Admiral Krathik prepared to activate a failsafe, a quantum bomb that would erase this entire sector of space. "You would destroy yourselves to stop us?" Vasquez asked, appearing holographically on his bridge. "Better oblivion than subservience to primitives," he snarled. "Primitives." Morrison laughed, his form now pure energy. "We're your ancestors, your gods, and we're very disappointed in you." The bomb activated. Reality began to unravel. And then Martinez did something impossible. She caught the quantum detonation in a game of cosmic cat's cradle, turning destruction into creation. The quantum bomb's energy swirled in Martinez's metaphysical hands, transformed from a weapon of annihilation into pure creative potential. Across the galaxy, every screen, every neural interface, every communication device displayed the same image: 5 humans becoming something more. "This is what we offer," Vasquez announced, her voice carrying across subspace. "Not conquest, but evolution. Not dominance, but transcendence." The merging process was broadcast live as volunteers from the Persistence crew stepped forward. Each transformation was unique, beautiful, and terrifying in its implications. Dr. Singh, the ship's psychiatrist, merged first. Her body dissolved into ribbons of light that rewove themselves into a being of pure empathy, capable of feeling and healing the emotional wounds of entire civilizations. Lieutenant Walsh, the security chief, became a living shield of quantum probability, able to protect others by redistributing harm across infinite timelines. Engineer Thompson transformed into a constructor of impossible architectures, building bridges between realities with the same ease she once welded hull plates. Each merger was a work of art, a symphony of human potential unleashed. But it was Vasquez's transformation that truly shook the foundations of galactic society. As the captain began her merger, she felt the weight of every decision, every life under her command, every choice that had led to this moment. The phantoms offered her complete transcendence, freedom from all physical limitations. She refused. "No," she declared, shocking everyone. "Someone needs to remain human. Someone needs to remember what we were, to guide what we become." Instead of full merger, she chose a different path. Her body remained largely human, but her consciousness expanded to interface directly with the structure. She became the bridge between humanity's past and future, the anchor that would keep them from losing themselves in transcendence. The process was agonizing. Every cell in her body screamed as it was simultaneously transformed and preserved. But as the pain subsided, she stood before the galaxy as something unprecedented, a human mind in command of godlike power, tempered by mortal wisdom. "I am still Elena Vasquez," she announced, her voice resonating across dimensions. "Mother, explorer, captain. And now, guardian of humanity's path forward." Her first act was to reach across space to Earth. In homes, streets, and cities across the planet, holographic flowers bloomed. Roses, daisies, cherry blossoms, each one a promise of the wonders to come. "We're coming home," she transmitted to Earth's leadership, "and we're bringing the stars with us." The galactic response was immediate and divided. Some species, recognizing the inevitability of change, sought alliance with the transformed humans. Others prepared for war, convinced that humanity's ascension meant their own extinction. Admiral Krathvek, defeated but unbroken, made one final attempt to destroy the structure. Vasquez simply looked at him across the void, and he felt the full weight of human compassion, understanding, and disappointment. His weapon systems powered down. His crew wept, experiencing empathy for the first time in their species' history. As the structure began its journey toward Earth, Vasquez sent one last message to the cosmos. The age of secrets is over. The age of unity begins. We invite you all to grow with us. The stars themselves seemed to pulse in acknowledgement, welcoming their children home. Earth had never looked more beautiful than through transcended eyes. The crystalline structure, now humanity's first true starship, settled into orbit like a second moon. Across the planet, people gathered in streets, parks, and rooftops, watching as their destiny unfolded above them. In Geneva, the newly formed Earth Stellar Council convened for the first time. Admiral Krathvek, his consciousness forever changed by his encounter with human empathy, knelt before Morrison, who appeared as a being of pure energy still wearing his favorite Hawaiian shirt. "We were wrong," Krathvek admitted, his voice broadcast across the galaxy. "We feared what we didn't understand. We tried to cage the infinite." Morrison helped him rise, grinning with very human amusement. "Don't beat yourself up. Want to grab a pizza later? I know this great place in Naples that delivers to orbit." The transformation of human society happened gradually, beautifully. Children discovered they could shape reality through imagination. Artists painted with starlight. Scientists unraveled the mysteries of existence, while philosophers debated over coffee that existed in multiple states simultaneously. Martinez established the first Academy of Intuitive Engineering, where students learned to build impossible machines by feeling rather than calculating. Chen opened the Library of Paradox, where contradictory truths coexisted in perfect harmony. Paddle founded healing centers where the boundaries between species dissolved, treating the galaxy's wounds with hybrid techniques that merged science and transcendence. Vasquez remained aboard the structure, now called the Homecoming, serving as humanity's guide through their evolution. She maintained her physical form, aging gracefully while wielding cosmic power, proof that humanity could ascend without losing its essential nature. 1 year after first contact, something miraculous happened. A Valaxian child, dying from a genetic disorder their medicine couldn't cure, was healed by a human doctor who simply refused to accept the inevitable. The doctor, an ordinary pediatrician from Mumbai, had unconsciously tapped into humanity's awakened potential. "We're all becoming more," Vasquez explained to the assembled galactic leaders, "not through force or conquest, but through our most human qualities: hope, stubbornness, and the absolute refusal to accept limitations." The night sky changed forever when the transformed humans began their greatest project. Working together, they rearranged nearby star systems into constellations visible from Earth, messages of welcome in every human language. In a small apartment in Tokyo, a young girl looked up at the new constellations and smiled. She drew a picture of her family holding hands with beings of light, adding impossible colors that somehow felt right. Her grandmother, who remembered when humans thought they were alone in the universe, wiped away tears of joy. "What do we do now?" the girl asked. "Now," her grandmother replied, pointing to the stars that spelled out humanity's future. "Now we explore. We learn. We grow. We show the universe what it means to be human." Above them, the Homecoming pulsed with gentle blue light, and across the cosmos, the silent phantoms, silent no more, sang humanity's song to the infinite. The beginning was just beginning.